how can project, program, and portfolio manager recognize and understand the existing organizational culture they're working in within and what they do? Where can they start?
Yeah, so for us as project professionals, I'll just say that to lump all three of the program, project, and portfolio managers. One thing to understand the organizational cultures is, one, to even know, like, we sometimes assume that everybody knows what organizational culture is. And so number one place to start is, what is organizational culture? And when I present this, I have some slides and I have a couple quotes of people, and one of them is Alan Adler, and he says, it's the civilization of a workplace. Yeah. It is the another description for organizational culture is, it is the glue that holds everything together. And I have an image of a tree, and this is, if you want to think about, where do I start? Organizational culture comes from where? It comes from the top. It is created by your executive leadership, your board of directors, however your organization is structured. That's where organizational comes from. So that's a good place to start. What does that look like? And if you think about that tree, they are the trunk. They are the trunk and the hands, and this image then has a whole bunch of little hands, and that's us. And so this is the trunk, but the tree isn't living unless all of us, and then including project professionals, make that tree grow. Yep. And that's how we function within that tree. So that's the first place to start. And then you're like, okay, great. Well, now I know that this is kind of the glue. But then you're like, well, how do I recognize it? Because that's another big component, is, how do I recognize organizational culture? And if I can, I'll just briefly go through 4 different main types of organizational culture. And as I say these, what you should do then is think about, is this my organization? Is this my company? And research by Kim Cameron and Robert Quinn did some pivotal research about 40 years ago that found that 90% of organizations fall into these 4. So chances are you fall into these 4, and the remaining 10% are typically a blend of those 4. And so one of the first ones is your clan culture. So if you think about, and if somebody wants to even, type something in the chat here, what do you think about when you think about a clan? For me, this is very easy one for me because of even my heritage and background. I have Irish and Scottish background, so there's a lot of clan names. Like, if you hear clan names, that's exactly what it is. You have a group of people over here, and this is your culture, and this is, say, this is the IT department, and this is the finance department. Don't think of it as silos, but think of it as these clans that collaborate together. So clan cultures are very horizontal. They very much encourage, oh, hey, I see Dharam in the hallway, and say, hey, Dharam, let's talk about this. And then you have an ad hoc culture, which takes those one-off meetings even further, very much into startups. High-tech companies have a lot of adhocracy culture. Why? Because they're big risk takers. And so you see a lot of, so if you're thinking about, my organization, I get Teams invites or Zooms, or I'm in the office and people are grabbing me all the time saying, hey, we're gonna have a meeting in 5 minutes, or hey, Jeff, what do you think about this? Yep. Then you're probably in some sort of adhocracy culture. And they're the thing that's neat about adhocracy is they very much are open to ideas. But if your company is very risk adverse, you're probably not in an adhocracy culture. And then the third out of the 4 is a market culture. So another good place to start. A market culture, think of finances. Like, it is financial success. Well, you may be thinking, well, yeah, Jeff, that makes sense. All of us want to be financially successful. But what a market culture does is it looks at, say, you as a project manager, you as a program manager, a portfolio manager, a leader, and says, what are you doing to contribute to the financial success? And so that's why that market culture all revolves around the product and the financial success of the organization and how much you can contribute. And then lastly, there's a hierarchy culture. And if you're like, oh, this is, I think of an organizational chart.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. It is your traditional, if you will, hierarchy culture where this executive feeds down to this upper management, feeds down to this mainline management, feeds down to us individual contributors, and they're very vertical in how they operate. Some look at that as being a negative, but it depends on the type of the organization, because the flip side of that type of hierarchy, they usually have very clear managerial processes. They're very streamlined. They've gone through value analysis to make sure that what they're doing actually has value. So those are the 4 organizational cultures. So as you're thinking about those, you can think, where do I fit in? And what type of organizational culture does my organization have? So that's a good place to start, because if you don't at least recognize it, then you don't know how to function in it, right?
Yeah.